In an old run-down Texas motel, a gaunt, toothless elderly woman stares at the camera in terror, describing the shape-shifters she claims to see. Her eyes are still large, yet they have lost all their former radiance, leaving only a kind of transparent desolation. No one could have imagined that this recluse haunted by hallucinations was once a Cannes Film Festival award winner and an irreplaceable muse of Hollywood. The name Shelley Duvall itself carries a crumpled, broken quality. Tonight, let us sit by the flickering fire and walk through the true life of hers with this story. One you don't have to force yourself to remember. Her story does not begin with a childhood cradle, but with the snow. Sealed Overlook Hotel. Everyone talks about Jack Nicholson's madness, yet few notice the truly shattered soul behind Wendy. It is an elegy of destruction, compromise, and self-exile in utter loneliness. Perhaps she never truly escaped that endless winter filled with the sound of typewriters. Back in 1970s Houston, Shelley was just an ordinary cosmetics salesgirl until she met Robert Altman. Her uniquely large, slightly protruding eyes seemed to hold the melancholy of an entire era, instantly captivating the director. "You reborn actress," they said, yet no one told her this gift would cost her entire sense of self. In *3 Women, she won the Cannes Award with her ethereal, otherworldly temperament. It was the last moment of pure innocence in her life. Then in 1977, a phone call from Stanley Kubrick arrived, a one-way ticket to hell. Kubrick needed a wife figure who was ordinary yet unsettling, and Shelley's uniqueness became the perfect material for his artistic experiment. From day one on the set of The Shining, the atmosphere was suffocating, and it lingered for a full 500 days. To capture extreme terror, Kubrick ordered the entire crew to isolate her, forbidding anyone from offering her even the slightest comfort. She spent 12 hours crying on set every day until her eyes swelled shut and her body became dehydrated. The famous scene where she swings a baseball bat on the staircase was reshot a staggering 127 times. This was not acting. It was a long, public, and legal form of mental abuse. The camera captured her trembling hands and desperate screams, moments etched into film history classics. Yet they marked the breaking point of her mental strength. After the film's release, all the praise went to Kubrick, the controversy to Jack, and all Shelley received was the humiliation of a Golden Raspberry Award. No one understood why Wendy seemed so weak and hysterical, for no one knew what she had endured over those 500 days. After filming Wrapped, Shelley found she could no longer stop crying, with clumps of fallen hair clogging the bathtub drain. She tried to rebuild a normal life, working as a producer, and launching the critically acclaimed Thivery Tale Theatre. At that time, she still clung to a stubborn vitality, seeking solace in the world of fairy tales. But Hollywood has a notoriously short memory. People would rather exploit her eccentricity than recognize her talent. She began moving frequently, relocating from Los Angeles to a remote Texas town, as if fleeing an invisible pursuer. Former collaborators gradually vanished from her contacts list, leaving her alone with dozens of cats and dogs. Late at night, did she ever think of herself running down those hotel hallways? The walls of reality closed in tighter and tighter, while the labyrinth in her heart deepened until all exits disappeared. She cut herself off from society, talking to herself in grocery stores, and the underlying terror in her eyes never faded away. The wheel of fate turned once more, bringing her a long, silent descent into despair. In 2016, after nearly 2 decades of seclusion, Shelley emerged in the public eye on an exploitative talk show. Haggard and frail in her old age, she insisted that her late close friend Robin Williams was still alive, merely transformed into another form. She told the host, "I'm very sick, and I need help." The scene broke countless fans' hearts and laid bare the cruelty of the entertainment industry, cast aside ruthlessly once they are no longer useful. Deep in the Texas wilderness, she lived in a cluttered house, stuffed with old belongings and newspapers. A fortress of her own making, yet also her prison. She once said she could feel the ground moving beneath her feet and hear aliens walking across her roof. Many dismissed this as schizophrenia, yet in a way, it became her mind's way of self-protection. When the real world grows too painful and cruel, the brain automatically weaves a protective net of hallucinations. In her delusions, departed friends remained alive, and painful memories twisted into mysterious supernatural signs. Her bizarre mental state was ultimately an extreme act of self-exile, a complete rejection of the world that had broken her heart. She drove aimlessly across the Texas plains, searching for truths only she could see, against the backdrop of the dry golden sunset of Texas. It was the poignant silhouette of a woman who once had the world at her feet, only to be pushed to the margins by life itself. In July 2024, Shelley Duvall passed away peacefully in her sleep from complications of diabetes. 30 years had passed since she retreated into complete seclusion, and nearly half a century since filming Wrapped on Fruit Shining a Sting. Social media was flooded with screenshots of Wendy clutching a baseball bat, hailing her as a cinematic legend. Yet her legacy is far more than those haunting moments. It is a paradox of fragility and resilience. She was an ordinary person wounded by a genius's arrogance, and an artist who clung to her innocence amid endless brokenness. Her true life did not end inside that hotel. It faded slowly amid the Texas breeze and her own illusions. At last, she no longer had to cry, no longer had to endure the 128th retake. The voices that haunted her, the phantom shape, shifters, and those forever terrified eyes have all turned to ashes with the dying fire. If you feel sleepy listening to this story, drift off peacefully into the night. Outside the window, there is no snow, no ominous hotel, only soft night wind, carrying the news that a girl has finally found freedom. Good night, Shelley. Good night to every soul who has struggled against fate.